There is a gig app CFO who has a video out begging drivers to curtail the number of cancellations on his app. And I'm going to talk about that on this segment of the Gig Geezer. Well, today is Friday, August 15, 2025. And if this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, thanks for coming by. And if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, thanks also for coming by. Hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome comments in the section below. The Gig App CFO name is Sean Modd, M-O-D-D. I'm not going to mention the Gig App because they don't need to have that type of attention. At least I'm giving them attention by just talking about their situation. Well, he's made an impassioned appeal to drivers to curtail the amount of cancellations on his app because of his relationship with the gig app aggregator OneRail. Yes, those motherfuckers, OneRail. Now, if anybody's checked out the Gig Geezer channel, 2 years ago, I put out the word that I was looking for some help in my radius of operation, in which I would be able to, at least this is what was described 2 years ago. This does not exist anymore. In fact, the relationship with OneRail ended almost as soon as it started. But what it was is that OneRail allowed drivers like myself to contract directly with them, and this was in anticipation of them having in effect a contract with a major retailer, Lowe's, for last mile deliveries. And you had to have, well, it was not specified, but it was strongly encouraged that you had to have the $1 million combined single limit liability insurance, along with $100,000 cargo insurance, and then also commercial general liability, $1 million, $2 million commercial general liability. You also needed, ideally, then to have a US DOT number and an MC number. They also gave you a pay schedule of these opportunities. And these opportunities not only with Lowe's, but also major tire distributors, ATD and NTW. Well, my relationship with those people ended almost as soon as it started because they were very slow with paying. And also, as it turned out, their word was about as solid as a $7 bill. Based on the pay situation, we were to be paid net 30, meaning that we were to be paid 30 days after we put in an invoice. Now, I had about 5 or 6 drivers at that time, and I ended up having to pay out of my pocket a total of $700 to drivers I had to pay out a total of $700 out of my pocket to these drivers just to operate in good faith with them, because OneRail took 7 weeks, almost 8 weeks before they paid me. Not to mention, I had a rep from OneRail to approach me about actually offering me a better contract, a better pay structure with them. That was in May or June of 2023. All this began, the initial contact began in March of 2023. So in May, June 2023, I was to meet with them again about a new contract structure. Never heard from them again. Now, that's been over 2 years. So that goes to show you what I think of them. So OneRail is like, if you're a catering person, you deal with EasyCater. EasyCater is the aggregator of catering opportunities. They go out and solicit catering opportunities from companies and people all over the place. And then what they do is they've entered into relationships with the gig apps like the DoorDashes, and then the catering app companies, Uber Eats, you name it. pretty much if you've been on board with those two places, along with some other catering apps out there, all of them go through easycater in terms of the opportunities that are dispersed to them. On the last mile front, all of the apps that you may have last mile relationships with outside of roadie deal with OneRail. So OneRail has also, over that time, imposed its will upon these gig apps, and you wonder why. And I've mentioned this in past Gig Geezer segments. Search the archive. You'll have to search the archive because I've talked about this ad nauseum, and I even have a short in which I showed an example of how OneRail has manipulated the game or the market to try to squeeze money at all costs. Well, OneRail have these apps to compete for these opportunities. And the way you compete for more opportunities is by having good metrics, which is the same contract that I had with them. If I had good metrics, I saw more opportunities. If I had bad metrics, I saw fewer opportunities. And so that's why these gig apps are always sweating us for being on time, delivering on time, being in constant communication with them, making sure that there are no complaints by the customers. Because if you're not on time, if you're not on time there, if you're not on time to the drop-off location, if you happen to cancel and they're unable to cover, but just cancellations in general, all of these are negative marks against these gig apps. And so this is what the CFO was on YouTube with this video that lasted about a minute and 42 seconds talking about. Now, yours truly, I commented on that video and I pointed out 3 things that contribute to why there are many cancellations on his app, and for that matter, all of the apps. Number 1, when you're dealing with Lowe's, the home improvement place, you've got a culture of lethargy and ineptness at many locations, in that you've got people who don't care. You're waiting 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes sometimes for somebody to show up. And when they do show up, it's as if, what do you want? And even then, if you have people who are somewhat industrial about things, somewhat thrifty about things, there is a chance that orders have not been pulled. Orders in its entirety or partial orders. So therefore, if orders not pulled, you may have to wait. And if you don't feel like waiting, well, guess what? You're going to cancel. Here's another thing: how OneRail has imposed its will upon these apps. There are certain apps in which you used to get wait time. OneRail put out the word: we're not approving wait time. If the order takes more than a certain amount of time, it's being canceled outright, or you're forced to wait until they finally come out, produce the goods for you to deliver. Another issue that I pointed out was how on these apps, you've got people who are taking orders or accepting orders and are attempting to deliver them with vehicles that are not capable of handling these orders. For example, I see a number of orders in my market in which you're talking about 12-foot pieces of wood, either 2x4s, 4x4s, 2x6s, planks of wood or beams of wood, or pieces of wood. And these people are desperately trying to make them fit on a goddamn pickup truck. Pickup trucks that don't have pickup trucks or even SUVs. And you got these people doing these for basically no money, but they're out there trying to make what they can, squeezing this shit into their vehicles, and it's unsafe. It's unprofessional and it's unsafe. And if something goes wrong, guess who they're going to come after? It's not going to be the driver. They're going to go after the money. That's what any lawyer who's worth their salt is going to do. They're going to go after the money. Fuck the driver. They're going after the company and also the app. Another thing is pay. OneRail, I've never shown the contract because I don't think that is something that I can do contractually, but I can tell you that OneRail's pay is shitty. it is a laughable joke, okay? It is a knee-slapping, laughable fucking joke what they're paying. And so that's why the gig apps, these last mile gig apps, the pay over the last year and a half has fallen off the way it has, because they have finally, they have all aligned themselves with the pay structure that OneRail dictates to them. So then there are some variations of pay, but then you have different tiers of carriers, apps that are out there doing some of these orders, which leads to the problem. You have certain apps, the cheapest of the apps will have people who will show up in a Kia Soul attempting to take a 4x8, a couple 4x8 slabs of sheetrock or plywood. They can't fit that shit in there. Or the person who's on those apps is probably a mom with a kid in the back seat in a baby chair. She can't handle that stuff. And I'm not being sexist or anything like that. These are actual scenarios that do exist, because I've gone up there and I've shown in video, and that where the people are asking what vehicle that you're driving. Whew, thank you, man. I'm so glad that you show up in that van or that F-150, because we've had people to show up in these other vehicles and they can't handle this. But the problem is too that you have people who are so fucking thirsty to try to get that money. If the store personnel tells them that you can't, we really should not allow you to have this, they're cursing them out and pitching a bitching fit, saying, God damn it, you better give me these things, because I'm here to pick it up and deliver it. So then, grudgingly or reluctantly, they let them leave the store with the shit. And so therein lies another issue. Now, all of that contributes to sometimes the cancellations. Admittedly, the last couple of times that I've had delivery opportunities on that app that I'm talking about, I contacted them about how the store had indicated to me they did not have all the items for delivery, so therefore they had to cancel it. It took about 35 minutes to handle this shit. It shouldn't take that long, but that's how long it took. 35 minutes to interact with that app. Now that's one of the complaints that some of the drivers put in the comment. Your driver support is shitty. It sucks. It eats shit. You are fucking slow, and it takes forever. And then again, sometimes when you actually talk to them, they have a fucking attitude with you. But the number one complaint that the drivers put in there was the pay. But the pay is bad across all apps. I mean, there was a time when, like just what I mentioned earlier this year in a past Gig Geezer segment, and how I kind of showed how I took an order. It was a bag of mulch, one bag of mulch or potting soil was for the same as what some people were delivering an entire pallet of potting soil or mulch. And an entire pallet of potting soil or mulch is like 2,000 pounds. I took one 50-pound bag for the same money that some of these people were delivering that shit in my market. But that is how OneRail has the pay structure. Yes. So I know I went into a real deep explanation of things. I never mentioned the app, but you can fill in the blank, because all these apps are facing the same issues. It's just that this particular app executive has gone on YouTube making an impassioned appeal to drivers to cool it with all the cancellations. Well, you've got some issues that you've got to address before all those cancellations will be curtailed. And so here's another example before I end this segment of the Gig Geezer. And by the way, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome the comments in the section below. And if you don't like the content that's been provided in this segment or any other segment, you can give it a thumbs down, or you can unsubscribe. So this happened last month. I had accepted 2 opportunities where I was, the location where I was, and I was en route to the store. In fact, I was about to turn into the parking lot when another app had assigned me an opportunity that paid 5 times what those 2 orders were going to pay me. Well, which one did I complete? That's right. I canceled those 2 orders on that app like shit. I canceled them like they were bad habits. Did not think twice about it. They said, well, it could affect your ability to receive orders next time around. Fine. I ain't seen none shit. I ain't seen none since. I've not accepted none since. So, and by the way, I'll tell you how much the difference was. Those 2 orders on that app was going to pay $75. They were manageable orders, okay? But the opportunity that I was assigned, and had accepted was paying $350. So you tell me which one you would have taken. That's right. So again, that's all I have to share for this segment of the Gig Geezer. I'm Inwood Lane, and may your business, may your grind, and may your hustle continue.